Greetings, YouTube. At the time of this filming, it is Monday, August 13th. And yesterday, the 12th, was the sequel to the Unite the Right, where white supremacists and other white racists come together to show the world that they are bigots. Not necessarily something I'd want to do, but some folks seem to like that kind of thing. Now, if you remember, at the first Unite the Right rally that held last year, one of those white supremacists murdered a woman and injured a dozen other people. Fine people. As according to the president, these are fine, upstanding citizens, racists and murderers. But this time they decided to hold it in Washington, D.C. Maybe they thought it was too tasteless to hold their bigoted rally in the town where one of their members murdered a woman. I cannot imagine for a second that any of these people even know what the word tasteless means. But so they get a permit for 400 people. So they could have up to 400 bigots all in one place at one time, and the police would protect them and keep away all the counter-protesters who aren't bigots and are not happy with the fact that would potentially be 400 bigots all at this rally in one spot, as opposed to all the white supremacists that are in Congress. Congress is full of them. They're all Republicans. So, how many of these white supremacists showed up in Washington, D.C. on the 12th? Was it 400? Was it 300? Do I hear 2? Do I hear 1? Do I hear 40, which would be 10% of their potential 400? 25. 25 bigots, most of which were men, showed up and were outnumbered by the counter-protesters who had hundreds of people there. And essentially they couldn't be heard because the counter-protesters were shouting them down. Because there's only 25 of them, and there were hundreds of counter-protesters. Which warmed the cockles of my heart. And I think that it's important that we make sure that this point is not lost. They had a year to plan this. They had all kinds of time to rally their white supremacist bigoted asses together. And they got 25 people to show up. I think that's a good indication that maybe some of the white supremacists in America have started to get the point that when you're a white supremacist in public, there are consequences to those actions. Which is kind of cool. Maybe they have the potential to learn. I doubt that, because they are white supremacists. And if they had the potential to learn, they wouldn't be white supremacists. But at least only 25 of them showed up in Washington, D.C., and they were outnumbered by hundreds of counter-protests. And that just makes me inordinately happy.